Chicago, 2011. A cop is murdered. Police and prosecutors swear they have the trigger man. He swears he didn't do it. How far will each side go to prove they're right?
Like it's just one bombshell after another, where you're like, what?
The story of a PlayStation, a brain-eating amoeba, and the relentless pursuit of justice. Off Duty, out now. Listen wherever you get your podcasts.
This message comes from Jackson. Taxes aren't something you can only think about once a year. With investments, planning for tax day is year-round. Fortunately, Jackson offers tax-efficient products. Visit jackson.com for more information on how our products can make your tax bill a little bit less painful. Jackson is short for Jackson Financial Incorporated, Jackson National Life Insurance Company, Lansing, Michigan, and Jackson National Life Insurance Company of New York, Purchase, New York.
Hello, listeners. Before we start this episode of our Sister Wives Rewind, we just wanted to let you know that this episode was recorded before the passing of Garrison Brown. And so just to give you some context, if you hear us say something that sounds as if he's still with us, that's the reason why. So thank you, and I hope you enjoy the episode.
Hello, and welcome back to the Psych Legal Pop Podcast. This is a podcast where we talk about popular culture through the lens of an attorney and a therapist. I'm the therapist, Tess Brigham.
And I'm Brooke Brigham. I'm the attorney.
All right, so we are continuing our Sister Wives coverage. We are on Season 6, Episode 9, Sister Wives on the Ropes. And it's got nothing to do with boxing, but it's about a fight.
The rope thing. Oh, okay.
I don't know. I think it's because of the big thing that happens in this episode is they are part of this panel discussion about polygamy, and there's going to be people there opposing polygamy, and one of them's Kristyn's aunt, and then we get to see Colleen again we met her last season or season before when Aspen and Logan and was it Maddie?
Maddie
went to Utah to work for this organization that helps people who are escaping from these polygamous cults, FLDS, that kind of thing.
Well, the UNLV, what is it, the Department of Religious Studies, or they're really benefiting from,
Oh, yes, they are.
The Browns being in Las Vegas, because they've had several panel discussions where, they have them as guests.
Well, and I really appreciated this professor because I felt like, oh, we're getting some good information from this professor. Like he's doing research, he's looking out there, and he's sort of telling us, like, this is what I've seen, this is what this is. And one of the issues with this panel discussion that I think was a real problem, but again, I don't think that the professor could get anybody else, is you have these 5 members of the Brown family on one side, and then these 4 or 5 people on the other side who all have different experiences and they're not related to each other. So it's very lopsided. It's like you needed a few other polygamous families who could step forward and say, no, we are not like this. We are more like the Browns.
Yeah, that's true. But yeah, it was interesting that one of the people on the, you have the Browns on one side, and then on the other side is Kristyn's aunt, Annie's sister, who left polygamy along with Annie. I don't know if before or after. And we know what a great family those LeBarons were. So,
yes. Yes.
She really, she had a horrible experience, just like Annie had a horrible experience.
Yeah.
Which is weird to me. Like, why is Kristyn so afraid of her? I mean, Kristyn's mom went through the same thing. She's not afraid of her. Well, I mean, I don't know. I didn't understand that. Kristyn's fear seemed a little bit much.
Yeah, I love you, Kristyn, but I thought this was a lot. And I think all of them were especially Kristyn and Robin were really defensive. And it was like, no, they're not trying to, they did not get what the other people were trying to do or say. And they did admit this at the end. Like, we ended up debating each other or yelling at each other versus like giving our sides of the story or giving them our experiences. Well,
and the Browns many times have acknowledged that there are bad polygamists. They talk about Warren Jeffs and they say, well, that's not us. So come on, people. It's not like you don't know there are evil people out there in every
everything, every
religion,
profession,
everything. Yes.
every walk of
Nothing-
life living next door to you.
Yeah. Nothing is black and white. I mean, yes. So but they're just real defensive.
Mhm.
Kody and Robin and
I
Kristyn
think
especially.
Kristyn, yeah, Meri and Janelle were a little more like, but so the editors did something very tricky with this episode. So we see scenes from the panel, flashes of yelling, "Don't make me a victim, sweetheart." Oh my God, my aunt is here. Oh God, all these, Colleen, like all polygamy sucks. I was abused. And then all these fighting. And then we get this back to the Browns cul-de-sac 2 days earlier. Dun, dun, dun. So we got a flash forward of what we were going to see of like all of this is going to happen. So we're at Kristyn's house and Aspen's saying that she wants to go to the panel because she wants to support her mom, but she also wants to get a little more information.
Mhm.
I think at this time, Aspen is maybe still sort of thinking about what she wants. Like she's not quite sure if she wants polygamy or monogamy. And I think she just kind of wanted to see what else was out there. And did you notice that Logan was also in the audience?
Yeah.
Daddy Logan was there. So everybody is super nervous about the panel. Mary's okay with it and Janelle so, but Kristyn really doesn't want to go because her aunt is one of the panelists. So we meet and throughout this, we see the Browns and what they're saying and how they're feeling about being on this panel. And on the other side, we're seeing these other people who are gathering together, who are going to be the opposite side of the panel. Mm-hmm. So we meet Kristen Decker, who is Kristyn's aunt, who, Annie's sister, who left polygamy. We meet Willie Steed, who was from the FLDS, and he looks very young. And I think we saw him a couple years ago. He was part of this family that they just left. Like it was his mom and himself and five of his sisters, and they left with the clothes on their back.
Yeah, he's like 20 years old, very young or something.
And then we see Colleen, spelled Kollene, from the Kingston group. And we had met her before. And then we meet this woman. There's this fourth woman, Kristyn Marie. And I have a lot of feelings and thoughts about Kristyn Marie and her situation, because I don't feel like she was the right person for this panel, because that does not feel like polygamy to me.
She had a bizarre story. It seemed more like she was being held captive.
Yes.
As a sex slave or something.
Yeah. I feel like that's just about dating the wrong person. Do you know what I mean? That's not so much about polygamy and making a conscious choice, because this is the thing is that Kristyn Marie wasn't born into it. We can get into her story later, but it's just like, there's something off about this. Mm-hmm. So they all want to talk about this because they don't feel like the bad stories are talked enough about, though they kind of are. But Kristyn's aunt, she really wants to show the other side of polygamy. She wants to show this alternative. And she's saying, the Browns really paint polygamy as this wonderful thing. And she really, she wants to just show another side. And I don't blame her. Because I think that Kristyn feels very threatened by it because she represents a version of Kristyn's life that she doesn't want to ever see. Like Kristyn's so, it was so great. I had such a wonderful time. 2 mothers. I was born into this. I know I wanted to do this. Right. And her aunt's presence represents, no, Kristyn.
No, it wasn't.
It wasn't that great. Either you were sheltered from it or you were not seeing it. But if she can, that's the thing. She cannot see her aunt's point of view at all. You don't have to agree with it, but you at least have to empathize with it and understand it and see where she's coming from. And if she does that, that would mean that, part of her life would be a lie, or maybe some of the decisions that she made were a lie.
Well, I think Kristyn kind of straight up rewrote history, in my opinion. I don't see how you can be sheltered from that. If it was as bad as Kristyn and Annie have publicly said, you can't hide that from kids.
Yeah. And it wasn't like her mom left when she was 8. She was 19 when her mom left. You're at an age where you're remembering things, you're seeing things for sure. So the Browns, they are going first to meet for the panel with Professor is it Wyatt? He's going to be the moderator. I'm sorry,
Yeah,
Professor.
no idea
I'm
how to
butchering your
say it.
name. I apologize. I'm going to call you Professor. And then we hear a little bit more about Willie. He tells a story about him leaving with his mother. And the professor's telling us he has an interest in this topic. He's been studying it. And he talks about, what he's been learning about it. And he said that, a big part of polygamy and making it work is the husband has to be a very strong leader.
Mhm.
And he said, and few men are able to do that.
Yeah, very true.
And
Including Kody Brown.
yeah, as I've said many times, he is not a leader. I mean, he did not learn leadership skills.
No.
And I think we can see that too, just in general, both men and women, where, this is why a lot of CEOs get fired. This is why a lot of founders want to be CEOs and then they get ousted. Like, it's one thing to create something or to see it. It's another one to lead it.
Mm-hmm.
And this is fundamentally the problem. And so Professor, he gets it. So, and he says that he's also interested in this because he's noticed that people they're very interested in an alternative to monogamy, right? Because I think that, I don't know if necessarily people are thinking like, monogamy, polygamy, but I do think, and we see this a lot, right, with people having open marriages and poly and relationships and all of that. Now that we're living so much longer, there is this question, right? How long, is it really realistic to be with one person for the rest of your life?
To get all your needs met from one person.
Yeah. Not only sexually, but emotionally and all these other things. So he's asking this question. So Kristyn, very worried about seeing her aunt. She says, my aunt is not safe. She feels like her aunt is fighting her. And again, I think her aunt is fighting her memories of her life. And she does not like that. And her aunt, Kristyn, says, Kristyn, this isn't about you. She's like, this isn't about you. It's got nothing to do with you. Mm-hmm. And Kristyn's like, but she's against the lifestyle. She's very vocal about it. She's trying to show people that it's abusive. And Kristyn feels betrayed because of that. Again.
Well, yeah. And again, most of these polygamy situations are abusive. And no, but I don't think she's accusing the Browns of being abusive.
No.
She's just been invited onto a panel to speak of her experience.
Yeah.
She's literally, just like the Browns are talking about their experience, she's talking about her experience. She did experience abuse in polygamy. Kristyn may or may not have, before Kody or after Kody or whatever. But yeah, that's what a panel discussion is. Everyone gets up there and talks about their experience. And somebody moderates it.
Well, also, I have another little theory, which is this, is that I think that during this time, and we see it, we see it all the time, which is that Kristyn is already at this weird place where I feel like she is very unhappy. We know this. She's already unhappy now. She is seeing the relationship between Kody and Robin. And this is just another thing that's forcing her to look at her life, and she doesn't want to, or it goes against what she wants. So, all right. So I wrote down Kristyn Marie. Her story is nuts. So her story, I guess, in a nutshell, is she met a man. So she wasn't born into this lifestyle. This was not presented to her. That she met a man. She got into a toxic, abusive relationship, and then he convinced her that they should be married and that he needs to be married to other women. And she it was like part cult, but she said everybody else knew what was going on but her. And she was conned into it. And I feel like she was there, she said, about 9 months. Like, I just feel like it was a bad experience. I will give you that, Kristyn. I am not
a polygamous relationship.
But it wasn't polygamy. It was like a bad cult. Like, one of these Netflix shows we watch, Twin Flame stuff. So, okay.
Yeah.
Anyway, everybody's very, very nervous before the panel. Kody says, I don't want to be stereotyped for my lifestyle. So then they all they're all getting dressed. Everyone's going out. Everyone's leaving the house, going and doing that. And so we see this beginning parts of right before the panel starts. And so Kristyn, this is at the height of the drama. Kristyn goes to the bathroom and she's in the bathroom. And I guess it's like one of those one stall bathrooms. She's in the bathroom. All of a sudden she hears her aunt laughing outside of the door, and gets panicked, and she's like, well, I know she wasn't laughing at me, but she's so freaked out about
doesn't even want to see her or talk to her.
But she has to leave the bathroom, because it's a one stall situation. So and her aunt and Colleen, they're waiting for the bathroom, like, hello, there's one bathroom. So Kristyn is like, she's not leaving, and I don't know how Meri and Robin got wind of what was happening,
maybe
but all of a sudden,
cell phone,
maybe,
call them,
or maybe the camera crew was like, she's got to get out of the bathroom.
Yeah,
there's all these people, and so they, so Meri and Robin go inside the bathroom, like, hi, it's us, okay, and then make this big point of like escorting her out, like covering her, and of course Colleen's like, this is so junior high. You've got to be kidding me here. Like, you can't walk into the bathroom, leave the bathroom, see your aunt, smile, and be nice, and then leave. It was so weird. And then Kristyn gets into this whole thing of like, I hate confrontation. Why does it have to be so antagonistic? It's like, well, it didn't need to be.
Yeah.
It
isn't.
You're making it.
Yeah.
You're creating this, Kristyn. Also, and I'm sure I've said this before, this drives me crazy when people are always like, well, I don't want to talk to my boss about this, or I don't want to talk to my partner about this because I hate confrontation. It's like, why does it have to be a confrontation? Like, why is going and telling someone how you feel, you're not confronting them? Confrontation is very different than, this is how I feel. Or, hi, hello, how are you?
Because we've just labeled anything that is a difficult conversation as a confrontation,
Yeah.
And it's not. You're just, a lot of conversations are uncomfortable but necessary. It doesn't make them confrontational.
Yeah. So we get flashes of, right. And so now everybody's up on the panel. I can see Logan and Aspen in the audience. And now we get these flashes of, everyone's telling their various stories, and Willie's telling his stories, and he's telling us about how his father was never around ever. Because I think he had something like at least 12 or 13 siblings or something. So my father was never around. When he was around, he was really, really mean. And what would happen is that the mothers would get so jealous of each other, but they would never take it out on the father or even the other wives. They would take it out on the kids. So if your mom wasn't getting enough attention, then, the kids get the brunt of it. So, and, we just kind of go back. I mean, I didn't write down everything that happened. They just kind of go back and forth. It is. And it's a lot of like everyone telling their own stories of their own experiences. And we, of course, know the Browns' experience as well. And now we've already heard the backstory of all these people. So, and it's just this back and forth of, don't label me. You're painting me with a broad brush. I'm not painting you. I'm not doing this. It's like, and I kind of, with the professor, why didn't he step in? Because this is not the panel discussion you wanted to have. It
started to become Jerry Springer like, and Robin saying, "Don't make me a victim, sweetie." And I don't even know what
crazy.
What that was in response to. I can't even remember.
Oh, I know. It was something that Kristyn's aunt said, but she didn't say anything mean. She really didn't. Like she was asking honest questions, and you could see on her face, on Kristyn, on her face, that she really was genuinely, I'm just trying to share with you my story. I'm just trying to express something. Why are you all getting, so defensive? And I do think that's very interesting, because when people are at peace with their choices, they don't get defensive.
Right.
They just don't. You're just kind of like, okay, well, that's my choice. Bye.
Well, and Kody loves to push this martyr narrative, which has been picked up heavily by Robin. Not so much amongst the others, but yeah, this martyr thing that, oh, I'm a polygamist. Everybody's down on me just because I'm a polygamist and I'm a great guy. And, it's not fair. And, that's just his...
Oh, his fight for his religious beliefs.
And nobody understands. And he just wants religious freedom and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, nobody cares. Again, like you said, if you're so secure in your religion and your lifestyle, whatever, why do you have to constantly be defending it?
Mm-hmm.
And being on TV to like, to, I don't know what, get the adoration of the masses saying, oh yeah, you're great. You're so brave. This, that. I mean, it's just, yeah, this whole episode to me was just like, this is ridiculous. This is one of the worst episodes. It really is.
Well, it's kind of beating some dead horses of ideas and just the fact that, if your platform here is to talk about polygamy or your experiences of plural marriage, why do you feel like you have to heavily defend it all the time? Like, it just seems, it's so odd.
And why are you like suppressing somebody else's experience?
Mm-hmm.
They just totally discount, these other people's experience
because
and say, well, we're not like that. And it's like, well, no one's saying you're like that. They're just saying what they experienced.
Psych Legal Pop will be back after these messages. Hello, this is Tess Brigham, one half of the podcast Psych Legal Pop. When I'm not podcasting with my sister and analyzing pop culture, I'm a speaker who talks about mental health in the workplace. In today's post-pandemic hybrid working world, mental health matters more than ever. I specialize in empowering organizations to retain their valuable employees. I understand the unique challenges facing young adults in today's world, and I'm here to bridge the gap. So head over to my website, www.tessbrigham.com, to learn more about my speaking services and how I can help your organization reach new heights of success. Let's revolutionize your organization's approach to mental health and employee retention. Visit www.tessbrigham.com to explore how we can collaborate.
This message comes from Jackson. Taxes aren't something you can only think about once a year. With investments, planning for tax day is year-round. Fortunately, Jackson offers tax-efficient products. Visit jackson.com for more information on how our products can make your tax bill a little bit less painful. Jackson is short for Jackson Financial Incorporated, Jackson National Life Insurance Company, Lansing, Michigan, and Jackson National Life Insurance Company of New York, Purchase, New York.
Chicago, 2011. A cop is murdered. Police and prosecutors swear they have the trigger man. He swears he didn't do it. How far will each side go to prove they're right?
Like it's just one bombshell after another, where you're like, what?
The story of a PlayStation, a brain-eating amoeba, and the relentless pursuit of justice. Off Duty, out now. Listen wherever you get your podcasts.
Robin, the comment about don't make me a victim, sweetie, it was Kristyn. I can't remember the exact question, but Kristyn was asking a question about or making a comment about women in this lifestyle and that this is what a lot of women have experienced. And Robin really just interrupts her, like cuts her off and won't let her finish the sentence and then gets into that whole thing. I think that Robin practiced don't make me a victim, sweetie, for hours.
Yeah, because it just came out of nowhere and it was very different from what she'd been saying.
So I feel like she had 4 or 5 go-to phrases and she's like, I got to fit this in here. I got to fit this in here. I'm going to look so cool if I say, don't make me a victim, sweetheart. Like I'm going to show how I'm so strong and tough and defending myself and all of these things. And
Well, what were some of the things that the professor was saying? The professor was saying
I have those about marriage. I have those written down because those were really interesting. But one thing real quick. So the other thing that's talked about a lot is that they were talking about that there's lots of abuse in the polygamy world, that there's welfare, poverty, all of these things. And then, of course, the Browns have to say, well, that's across the board. Everybody has that. Everybody has this. Everybody has that. But this is the thing is it drives me crazy because weren't the Browns on welfare at one point?
Kristyn was.
Yeah. You fit into some of these things.
Yeah.
You do. So maybe there's
poverty.
There's not physical abuse.
Yeah.
And maybe the wives aren't doing the psychological warfare that maybe you all feel a little more secure. So you're not taking things out on your kids or any of that. But you have burdened the system and you can't pretend like you didn't.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah, no, but when it happens to the Browns, it's different, somehow. It's not the same.
And this was this other thing that was said. And I can't remember if it was said on the couch or I think it was said on the couch. So Kristyn said that Kody has always told the wives that if you're not happy, I'll give you money, you can leave. And that was the big thing that like, they are not trapped in this. They are not caught, like they can leave at any time. And I'm like, really? So that's very interesting. Flash forward 11 seasons.
Yeah.
She left because she said she was leaving. You didn't give her any money.
No. And you were mad about it.
And you were so angry about it. So angry about it.
I remember one season he said something to the effect of, I think maybe even talking about Kristyn or any of them. But he basically said that if any of his wives wanted to get a divorce, they were not prisoners and he would pay for them he'd buy them a house nearby. And even if they wanted to get remarried, they could live there and he would take care of his kids. And really?
Mm-hmm.
I remember him saying
you didn't do school, you didn't give them anything and you were pissed. And poor Janelle can't even leave because she has nothing.
Yeah, she doesn't even have a nest egg to take with her. So, yeah.
So that's the thing. It's like, yes, maybe for Kristyn, she didn't have to like run with only the clothes on her back out for escaping. But at the same time, a lot of the things they were pointing out, like problems of sadness and poverty and all of these things, Kristyn, you're sad. Mm-hmm. You're very sad right now and everyone can see it. Everyone knows it. And you have to take some ownership of that. Right? Like,
and they don't have enough money. I mean, they're not like living in, severe poverty, but they don't really have money to send their kids to school.
Mm-hmm. They don't have money for a major, I don't know about the health insurance situation, but we'll see later on this season when truly they don't have Isabel and, you don't have money to
insurance. Pay. If Isabel didn't have insurance, I'm sure Truly didn't have insurance. I mean, who would be providing this insurance? None of them have a job that provides insurance.
And there's no way they can pay for insurance for 20
there'll be
23 people.
Thousands and thousands a month to pay for, 6 kids. I doubt that. I doubt there was much insurance ever in place. So, yeah. Okay. So what did the professor say?
Oh, yeah. Sorry.
What were his observations?
So his observations were this. He said, from his experience with plural families, he says that he sees that there are about 30% of them that are in good marriages, 35% that have serious issues. And then he said, and another 35% that are completely dysfunctional. So he said, and that's about the same as monogamy.
Yeah.
And I do think these things are interesting in the sense that, why? Because I think that it's not necessarily one is better than the other one. I just think that the struggles are different. And so I think really the point I think I was trying to make, which is like, marriage is hard. Marriage is difficult. Relationships are hard. And no matter what the configuration is, these percentages may always be the same. Yeah.
30%, that's not great.
No, that having good marriages, and then 35 with like serious issues.
Yeah, serious issues. That doesn't sound good.
That doesn't sound good at all. And then completely dysfunctional.
Yeah.
So basically 70% of the people that are married today are either serious problems or dysfunctional.
Yeah.
Does that seem right?
I don't know. You just don't know what goes on behind closed doors, and everybody is out there fronting
oh yeah,
their life is wonderful, but you just don't know what's going on. And there've been times when I've suspected things and can't really confirm it, but yeah, people hide those things.
Yeah.
They're secretive about it.
Well, and I've had clients over the years where, I might work with one partner and he'll tell me, about his marriage just being, it's horrendous and they're fighting all the time and, they can't stand each other and, all this stuff. And then he'll tell me about the weekend and, oh yeah, we went here with the kids, we did this, and then, all dressed up for Halloween and matching outfits and taking pictures, putting it on Instagram. And I'm like, yeah, I bet you anything. People see that family, see oh, they have resources, or they're attractive, or their kids are so cute. And it's like, no, that's not at all what's happening. That's not at all. So that's what's so dangerous about social media. It's a false reality. So, yeah. Let's see.
What else did he say?
Oh God. And he didn't really say anything more. It was very, I liked him, and I think he had a lot of really interesting points to make. And I think he had a, just really, I think his intentions were good for this. And I think that he also probably can't find other polygamists that are willing to go on camera and talk about it. So it was always going to be a little lopsided. Maybe in the end, the best thing to do for the panel was just to have one side come out and talk and then leave, and then the other side come out and talk and leave.
Yeah. I'm sure he had a lot more to say, but they edited it out. They, for entertainment purposes, I'm sure they edited it to be that, what we saw, that back and forth kind of, fighting.
Oh, yeah. Oh, wait, there's some more. I knew there was more that they said. Okay. Sorry. So what he talked about was how do you make it as a plural family? Right. And he said that plural families that he's seen that where it's worked is this. And he said there's 3 components that have to be in place. He said, number one, they have to have money. He said they have to have resources that will cover everybody in the family, and that there's enough money to go around always. He said 2, he says the husband has to work very hard to manage his affections and relationships with each of the wives. He has to be really cognizant of that. He said that to be equal. And he said that even if you have a stronger feeling for one of the wives than another, your job is to never let anyone see that. That's what you have to work very, very hard on that nobody feels that. And 3, the sister wives have to be friends, have to like each other, and have a mutual respect for each other.
3 strikes against the Browns.
Yeah. Right. So, right. And maybe this is why, I don't know, we've heard ups and downs about Joe Dogger, your favorite person. But I do think Joe Dogger has money.
Yeah.
So I do think that helps them tremendously. And I think that and that's like anything, the more kids and family, if you have money, then a lot of times, for the fathers, they might be working really hard, but if your wives have help, if you can have a cleaning person come in, or you can spend money on food or delivery services or whatever it is, I do think it makes the women less stressed, makes you less stressed. It's like anything else. So, I don't know if any one person can always do this perfectly of making sure that their affections are completely even. And because we see this all the time with kids and families.
Yeah.
And especially when you have more than 2 or 3, where somebody always feels left out. Somebody always has a lot of resentment, their placement in the family, all of that kind of stuff. I wasn't the favorite. So I think even parents with 3 or 4 kids, it's hard.
Everyone I know who comes from a big family, like 5, 6, maybe even 7 kids, they all say, there was not enough time and attention for all of us. And it's usually more the younger kids, because the older kids, they get the parents when they do have more time. But by the time you get to the 5th, 6th, 7th kid, they're just barely getting any attention, or they're like the older kids are having to take care of them, or that type of thing. Yeah. It's just not physically possible.
Yeah.
To meet all, 20 people's needs all the time.
Well, and the other thing is, and we're going to get into this because one of the later episodes this season is the sister wives going to San Francisco.
Oh, yeah.
And that whole thrust of that, like over and over again, was for them to bond, to them to be friends. And this is what bugs me is that, okay, yes, I do believe that they have to get along and there has to be mutual respect, but you can't make 2 people be friends. You cannot make 2 people like each other. You can have respect, you can coexist, you can be nice, you can be pleasant, but you just can't. Not everyone can be your friend.
Right.
And so that's the other part of it too, is that's such a bizarre combination, like of, it's like lightning in a bottle. It's so hard. Maybe it's Joe Dogger. I don't know.
Yeah. In search of the perfect polygamist family. Does it exist?
Yes, yes. So, and then Kody says, make some big thing about like, I love these women and I love my children and blah, 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 blah. It's like, okay. So that's pretty much the episode. At the end, there's basically this wrap up where they all agree that maybe it was too much. It was, like we shouldn't have been debating. We lost sight of that. The professor as the moderator needed to step in, I think, a little bit more, or maybe structure it differently, but live and learn. And then at some point it starts during the panel where Kristyn and her aunt kind of sort of make up. They acknowledge that they're family. They acknowledge, and Kristyn says, I am nervous about seeing you. I am worried about that. And then Kristyn's aunt was like, oh, well, let's get together. Can we have lunch? Can we hang out? And Kristyn's like, no.
Yeah. They hug after the panel. They hugged each other. And and that's when, Kristyn said, oh yeah, you want to go get something to eat? And Kristyn was like, no. And I mean, like Kristyn was hugging like Logan and asking him,
they were excited to see
these are family members.
Yeah.
They're part of the family. And what is Kristyn so scared of? It's so weird.
Yeah. I don't know. I think that it's probably right that they talk a lot about this training of, I think it's the little bit of that cult mentality of, if you disagree with me, you are evil or you are bad, or I need to shun you or shut you out.
You're the enemy because you're going to try to,
take my children away.
Threaten me in some way. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that's so ingrained in Kristyn, like that mentality of that idea. And we've heard a lot about this of like, if anyone knew my grandfather went to prison, blah, 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 for polygamy. And I think it's that. And then I think there's all of this unconscious stuff that's happening around Kristyn being really unhappy in the family. Again, I can't remember how long we've been in the houses for a couple months now. And we know that Kristyn really was betting on these houses to make her happy.
Yeah.
Like for things to shift, for things to change. And I bet you anything she's starting to see, we learn more about this in the next episode. She's starting to see like things aren't changing. He loves this, he wants to be with this other person. I am so unhappy. And I bet you anything she feels very alone because she doesn't feel comfortable going to Meri and talking about these things. And I think Janelle is in such a different headspace. Like she's so alone in this. So I think some of it's the outward stuff and some of it's deep inside of her.
Yeah.
And then obviously, like, you know, someone presenting her childhood to be anything but amazing and wonderful.
Yeah. And I
know?
remember, I don't know if it was this episode or another episode. I think it's come up a few times, but because Annie left the church, when Kody and Kristyn started having kids, they cut Annie out of their lives because they thought that she would like try to take their kids away from them.
Yeah.
They saw her as a threat, and so they didn't see her for several years until they kind of calmed down about it. But yeah, Kristyn has a lot more trauma than she's, you know,
Yes.
willing to admit.
Oh, yes. Yeah. And I think this is why Janelle is very different, because she wasn't raised in this.
Right.
Like, this was very much her choice. She had a different kind of life. And I think this is why we see a little bit more of her being a bit more like, oh, what's the big deal? Or, okay, you know, or not caring so much, because
she's not that fear. She doesn't have that fear-based mentality that the rest of them do.
Yeah. Well, and is it in this one or in the other one where she talks about, Janelle then says, well, I was introduced to polygamy because I was spending time with Meri's family.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, because you were married to someone else.
She has never once, this came up in a episode I just watched, a few more episodes out. She has never, ever admitted on camera that she was married to Meri's brother.
Never.
It's always like, oh, I was friends with Kody and Meri, and they were my polygamist friends, and I was introduced to her family. Yeah, never, ever once admits. Why? Weird.
In the book she does.
Does she?
In the book, I believe so. I believe it's in the book.
Well, never on the show. Never on the show.
Never on the show, which is actually a strategy that people use, because I've seen this when I worked in LA, where like someone who would be, and again, this is the 90s, it's very different, but you know, you're gay and you're out, but you don't know exactly how you want to put it out to the public. You're an actor. So they will never acknowledge it in TV or radio interviews, but they'll only acknowledge it in print. It's very odd. It's like, but I've talked to friends who have been like, yeah, this is our strategy. You know, he's not denying that he's gay. He's just, we're going to talk about it over here and not over here. So I don't know if it's something about something in print versus hearing it. I don't know, but it might've been whatever the PR company for TLC was. Maybe that's what they told Janelle.
I think maybe at the beginning of the show, they were like, look, we don't want this to look too weird. Okay, so we're not going to talk about how you were married to Meri's brother, because that makes it a little too weird. Just like, you know, they never talk about the fact that I believe that Kristyn is like first cousins with David Jessup, Robin's ex. Like, they're very closely related. They never talk about that. So, I think they try to downplay some of these things, to downplay the polygamy.
And that's interesting, because I wonder if Kristyn talks to those cousins, because the big thing has always been that the Jessup family has always denied everything that Robin has ever said about him, and that he was not abusive, that it was her, that it was, you know, all of this stuff, the fact that she's, you know, estranged the kids from him and all that. So I guess I wonder if that was also part of maybe Kristyn's feeling like she couldn't get close to Robin, or feeling mad, or feeling frustrated, feeling like, I don't believe you.
Yeah.
I don't know.
You're not a good person.
Yeah. Or you're lying about a lot of stuff, and I'm sick of hearing this. My husband tell me how great you are, hat in hand. You came in here hat in hand, hat in hand. I don't know. I mean, but I wonder if Kristyn will ever talk about that. But I don't. I wish they would. God, I wish they would spill more. I want them to I want to see the finances so badly. I really want to see. I am so curious.
That's the last
how
thing
you make that work.
That's the last thing we'll ever see. People will not talk about money. They'll talk about their sex lives to you before they'll talk about money. Yeah. People are so weird about money.
Yeah. Well, so much of it, you know, we're so, right. Money is a construct. Money doesn't really to paper, but we attach so much to it, and how we see ourselves, and how special we are, not special, or how important, or how successful.
Yeah.
Or even the flip side of it, I'm a pauper. A lot of people struggle with even saying I want to earn $1 million a year because they feel like that seems greedy and mean and wrong and not spiritual and not holy. Yeah.
I don't feel that way.
No, not at all.
I'd be fine with that.
I'll take $1 million a year. I have no problems with it whatsoever.
No.
I just think you have to work for it. Not all of it, but I just think you have to have a purpose in life. I don't believe in just giving people money for nothing. But anyway, so that's the episode. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you like this podcast, please give us a 5-star rating and review. Those really do help us out and it spreads the word. And if you like us and like our podcast, please spread the word of Psych Legal Pop across the world, across the globe, not just this country, in all the countries in all the world. We're on social media at Psych Legal Pop at TikTok and Instagram. And again, tune in on Thursdays. We're continuing our documentaries and other coverage. So yeah, I think that's it.
Yeah.
All right. We'll see you all next time.
Bye.
Bye.
This message comes from Jackson. Taxes aren't something you can only think about once a year. With investments, planning for tax day is year-round. Fortunately, Jackson offers tax-efficient products. Visit jackson.com for more information on how our products can make your tax bill a little bit less painful. Jackson is short for Jackson Financial Incorporated, Jackson National Life Insurance Company, Lansing, Michigan, and Jackson National Life Insurance Company of New York, Purchase, New York.